Hello everybody, bonjour. I feel much older than now that everything has been read for me. I feel very privileged to be here today with you and to start a very, very important conversation about neurodiversity and neuroinclusion in your workforce. Did you know that 1 in 4 construction workers self-identify as being neurodivergent? I've been sharing those numbers with some of you in the past days, and I've been challenged. I've been challenged because the numbers come from the UK, but we have no numbers from Canada or Ontario, so I can't give you those numbers. And I've been challenged because some of you think it's more than that. So we want to play a little game with you. Our booth is on your left at the back door of this room. And there is a box where we invite you to put your business card, and on the business card, write down the percentage, the proportion that you think is the proportion of workers who are neurodivergent in your sector, in your industry. We are very, very curious to know, and maybe that's the starting point to have more solid data on the industry in Ontario. So what is being neurodivergent? Being neurodivergent means that those people feel that they think, they learn, they speak in a way that might be different from most of us. And they might have received diagnoses of ADHD, maybe, learning disabilities, autism, dementia. But there are hundreds of conditions that actually have an impact on our cognitive functioning. So the labels, the medical labels, are not that interesting in our conversation today. 1 in 4 is probably an underestimate, because we also know from research that many of you who are neurodivergent do not want to disclose. They don't want to disclose to their employers, to their coworkers, or their training centers. Why? Because they fear stigma. You know, you're not that smart. You know, you could maybe make an effort and look people in the eyes. They're afraid of those types of answers that they got for years in school and other settings. So stigma is a fear that leads to people not disclosing. Another reason why they don't disclose is because they don't see the point. What would I gain? What's the point? And that's unfortunate, and that shows that your workplace, your sector needs support in developing a more neuro-inclusive workplace. Because when someone discloses that they have a cognitive disability, that they are neurodivergent, they can access support, they can access resources that are tailored to them and will make them succeed. It might also decrease their likelihood to be injured in the workplace. One of the reasons why you might want to pay attention to neurodiversity and neuroinclusion in your workplace is also to solve a problem you seem to have, that I have read in the news, is that you need to recruit thousands of workers in the coming years. And neurodiversity gives you an opportunity to recruit a pool of talent that have been untapped, because the rate of unemployment among persons who are neurodivergent is very high and higher than the general population. So they're waiting for you to, offer a job. They're ready to work. That strategy has been used by other businesses and sectors, like the LCBO. The LCBO, during a staff shortage, used neurodiversity as a strategy for recruiting additional talents. So it's not a new strategy, it has been used in the past, and it might work in your workplace as well. But another reason why neurodiversity might be good for you to consider, it's because it's actually very good business, and it's especially good business in your sector, in your industry. It's good business because neuro-inclusive workplaces tend to report that they have workers that are very hardworking, who show up at work, who complete their work with the quality that is expected. And they also report that managers have better managing skills. They've learned to support the workers rather than the processes. So there is an advantage, there are advantages at being neuro-inclusive, and it's a business advantage. The other reason, there are many reasons, obviously, the other reason why you might want to consider neurodiversity and neuroinclusion in your industry is because the traits that are typically associated with neurodivergence are strengths in your industry. A neurotypical person tends to be very bad at seeing a 3D structure when looking at a 2D drawing. I really can't do that. It takes a very special ability that some of you have. Persons who are neurodivergent tend to find errors in a pattern faster than neurotypical peers. So these are abilities that you need in your workforce and that neurodivergent people tend to have more often than their neurotypical peers. So all that to say that you should really work with me and my team because obviously we have lots of solutions for you, but we won't solve all of your problems, but we're really happy to start that conversation with you and to see how we can support neuro-inclusion in your workplace. Persons who are neurodivergent might not use that term because there is a lot of stigma with that term, but they have a disability. Being neurodivergent is recognized as a disability, as a cognitive disability. And the difference it makes in using the word disability is that persons with disabilities have rights. There are rights for persons with disabilities to prevent discrimination and prejudice. So when persons with disabilities are in the workplace or in their training centers, post-education institution, etc., they have rights to be accommodated. And employers, training centers who do not accommodate or at least demonstrate that they tried to accommodate the individual fail in their duty to accommodate, which is covered by legislation, including legislation in Ontario and Canada. But that's the very negative side of the situation and the story, so that's why I don't present it as the first argument. There are more arguments to draw that are more positive and more useful to you, but it is something to consider. Now, some of you might be thinking that what I'm saying is absolutely nonsense because if one worker out of 4 has a cognitive disability and must be accommodated, there is no way you're going to be able to do that. So, you can stop listening to me. But I have another solution for you. It's to look at the puzzle from the other angle. The angle of cognitive accessibility. And that's my advice to you, is to try to change your approach so that you look at the barriers that you can remove, that are unfair, unnecessary, and that prevent people from succeeding and performing at their best because of their cognitive disability. It's the same idea that a person with mobility impairment doesn't have to disclose that they have a disability to go to the library or watch a movie. There's a ramp, there are elevators, so they don't need to disclose. The environment has been made accessible so they can enjoy the environment as much as possible. So it's the same idea with cognitive accessibility, but here we are building cognitive ramps. And the cognitive ramps have many different forms. And we have been very lucky recently to receive funding from the CINIF Family Foundation to start a pilot project with a local Smart 47, where we listened to them and asked what they knew about cognitive disability, neuroinclusion, cognitive accessibility in their training center, and what they would like to know and what we think they should know. And we used all of that information to develop a training that is tailored to them. So the training is based on best evidence in neuro-inclusive teaching and evaluation, but using activities and examples that are from their own training material. So it is directly applicable and it is relevant to them. The content has three major components. The first one is safe disclosure. So again, cognitive accessibility, we take it from the other angle and we try to avoid that people will need to disclose, but there will always be a need for disclosing, and we've heard from some of your colleagues that it makes you uncomfortable, you don't know how to ask. So we start the training on safe disclosure. And we give them tips on how to build a process for self-disclosure that is respectful, ethical, and that is accountable. The second piece of the training is about neuro-inclusive teaching. So neuro-inclusive teaching is the idea that we all learn in different ways. I've been writing down my notes for my presentation because that's the way I learn. I need to write down things, otherwise I don't print them. It doesn't work. If I ask you to give me instructions to go from here to your hotel room, which is not easy to do in that hotel, some of you might need to write down instructions, they might draw a picture, they might give information verbally. All of these ways are different ways to teach me how to go from point B to point point A to point B. So all these different ways of teaching are neuro-inclusive teaching. It's when we try to give as many opportunities as possible for the different style of learning to perform in the teaching environment. So it includes teaching practices, but it also includes how you set up your classroom, what it should look like for people to be able to focus as much as possible on the content of the class, etc., etc. There are lots of tips that we will provide. And the last piece is neuro-inclusive evaluation. It is very puzzling to me that we ask your apprentices, your trainees to write down what they know when what the knowledge that they're supposed to demonstrate is something that they have to do. It's very, very hard to put it in writing. And knowing that a large proportion of workers are neurodivergent or apprentices are neurodivergent, it will be a hard exercise for them, writing down in an exam room, etc., etc. I've heard in a previous presentation that you seem to struggle a little bit at your completion rate and your success rate in apprentices program. Perhaps it would help some of your trainees to have an environment that is neuro-inclusive and remove some of the barriers they have to demonstrate their knowledge and their competencies. The training is ready. We are going to start delivering the training next week, so I don't know how it works, and I don't know if they're happy with it. We're starting next week, and it will take 3 sessions of 2 hours to cover all that content. It's packed, it's busy, but it respects the time they have to dedicate to the training. After that, they will give us feedback on the training and we'll improve it. We'll improve it with the hope that it's going to be useful to more of you, and that we will find among you partners who are interested in getting that learning, getting that training, and so maybe at some point a provincial deployment of the training is possible. We've heard as well that a certification might be something that would be of interest to your industry. So we're considering developing a certification program in neuroinclusion, or whatever it will be called, to again support the development of your industry and demonstrate your leadership in neuroinclusion. So we are here today to develop partnership, develop relationship, get to know you better, because we know cognitive accessibility, but we don't know your jobs, we don't know what you do, so we cannot build a training without your collaboration. Well, we can build a training, you know, those training you go and then you forget everything because most of it was not relevant to you. That's not the kind of training we want to provide. We want something that is tailored, that is applicable to you, and we cannot do that without you. We need to collaborate and be in a conversation with you. So I encourage you to visit our booth. Again, it's the back door, the first booth on your left, to drop your business card and get a chance to win $50. We'll draw one of you who drops their card to win the $50. But the hope is that we'll gain a better understanding of neurodiversity in your workforce. And of course, come and ask questions, because again, we want to have a conversation with you. So thank you.